So I think without any further introduction, Louis, I'm going to simply ask you to review for the viewing audience why it was that you wanted to see me a couple of months ago.
I came to see you, Dr. Pauly, because I understood that you are the reigning expert on the female-to-male transsexual. And I also understood that you had not met or heard of a female-to-male transsexual who identified as a gay man, and that's exactly what I am. And I felt that it was important to come to you and in addition to make this videotape, because I've recently been diagnosed with AIDS and don't expect to be around long, and I want my story preserved.
I'm Eric Marcus, and this is Making Gay History. What you just heard was the introduction to the first of 4 interview sessions between trans activist Lou Sullivan and psychiatrist Ira Pauly. The interviews were conducted between 1988 and 1990 at the University of Nevada School of Medicine, where Dr. Pauly served as chairman of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences. As Lou noted, Dr. Pauly was an expert on transgender issues. He was a proponent of gender-affirming surgery long before most of his peers came on board, and he'd been mentored by Dr. Harry Benjamin, the pioneering German-American endocrinologist who established the foundations of modern trans healthcare in the U.S. But in spite of Dr. Pauly's decades-long experience in the field, Lou represented to him a quote-unquote new syndrome. Lou was a transgender man who identified as gay, at a time when trans people were uniformly believed to be straight in their sexual orientation. Or to put it differently, the assumption was that trans people transitioned with the goal of leading straight lives. That assumption was, of course, wrong. And it also had real implications for the gender-affirming care trans people had access to. When Lou himself had applied to the gender dysphoria program at Stanford University, hoping to receive female-to-male medical interventions, he was turned down. The reason? His case was considered an anomaly because he identified as gay. In his interviews with Dr. Pauly, Lou set out to educate the gender clinic gatekeepers so that other gay trans men would not have to suffer the same kind of discrimination. He did this by putting a human face and years of lived experience on the issue. Listening to his uncensored descriptions of his feelings, fantasies, sex life, and medical transition sometimes feels like eavesdropping on a therapy session. But Lou's openness served a much broader purpose. As he wrote in his diary after he learned he was HIV positive, "A big fear of mine is that I will die before the gender professionals acknowledge that someone like me exists, and then I really won't exist to prove them wrong." So here's the scene. It's January 1988. Lou and Dr. Pauly are in a recording studio at the University of Nevada in Reno. They're angled toward each other in matching orange swivel chairs. Lou, who's 36, is dressed conservatively in a dark suit, pale blue shirt, and tie. Dr. Pauly is dressed more casually in a sweater vest and open-collared shirt. He looks like a shrink out of Central Casting, late 50s, balding, glasses, except perhaps for his cowboy-style ankle boots. Like any psychiatrist worth his salt, he starts with Lou's childhood, which took place in suburban Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where Lou was born in 1951, the third of 6 children.
Why don't we go back to as early as you can remember when the gender issue seemed to become a conflict for you?
I don't know if it was really a conflict when I was a child. I spent a lot of time in a game that I and my sisters called playing boys. And that just meant that we're going to take a boy's name and pretend all day long that you're a boy. And that's what we did. I had 2 younger sisters and I was the older, so they kind of went along with what I wanted to play. But I really realized early on that I liked playing boys a lot more than they did, that I did it even when they weren't around, just pretending that I was a boy or thinking that I was a boy all day long while I played. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think it was a conflict. I just thought it was a game. And I also had a variety of male heroes. I can't remember ever having any female heroes or any female characters that I identified with. It was always cowboys or some male character on the television that seemed to me to be the most interesting and I idolized.
Prior to your engaging in this game playing and role taking, was there ever a time in your life when you saw yourself as female?
Well, I always knew I was female. I mean, I wasn't deluded or anything. I knew I was female. I went to Catholic grade school and we wore uniforms and I had to wear a dress to school every day, and I knew that I had to do this, and you know, it wasn't anything that was awful for me.
If I had seen you in those early years, would your behavior have been sufficiently obvious so that I would have been able to tell that there goes a female who is behaving in an obviously masculine fashion?
No, I think that you would have observed me as being a shy person, a really shy and reserved and kind of afraid person. So I was more of a quiet, kind of book-reading, library kind of a kid. And I knew there was some reason that I didn't feel like my classmates, you know, that I kind of was odd among them. And I wasn't, you know, I was never one of the in crowd, and I was always kind of one of the weird kids, you know, and I didn't know why.
Mm-hmm. And when did you develop any consciousness about your genital anatomy?
Well, I guess that would be puberty, about 12 years old, you know, when I got the whole rap about menstruation was coming and, you know, all this stuff was going to happen, you know, and you're going to start getting breasts and all this kind of stuff. And I guess that's when I first started thinking about bodies.
Mm-hmm. Was that rap a bum rap?
No, actually, I kind of was looking forward to it because I thought, well, great, you know, this is going to happen and everything's going to turn out okay, and I'm going to be you know, a happy, well-adjusted, beautiful woman.
What about the business of once menses began and you had your first menstrual period? What was that like?
Well, I was very excited. My younger sister got hers first, so I felt really inadequate, and she was very well endowed and got breasts and stuff, and I was still very skinny and kind of a, you know, skinny, lanky kid, and so I was really happy when it happened. It was like, oh, great, you know, I'm catching up, and I'm going to be, you know, voluptuous too. So it was exciting. But as I was growing through my teenage years, all of a sudden I was realizing that you know, having my period and getting breasts was not making me a happy female. That's when I started to feel the conflicts of what I was supposed to be doing as far as society dictates and what I felt like doing. You know, I wanted to dress as a boy and I wanted to keep playing boys, and my mother was, you know, trying to urge me to get into more female kind of things, but I didn't want to. You know, I was about 13. I wanted to buy cowboy boots, and my mother said, no way, you're going to get female shoes, and we had a big fight, and it was really bad, and finally my mother broke down and let me get them. So there was those kind of things that were going on. Also at 12 and 13 is when I started developing my sexual fantasies, and was really very upset to realize that my sexual fantasies involved men being together, gay men being together. I didn't know, you know, even such a thing, but all I remember is that just thinking about men kissing each other or hugging each other or touching each other or liking each other was really a big sexual turn on for me, and I would masturbate to thinking about that. And knew that this was a big sin. I mean, I was very Catholic, and I knew that this was a bad thing, and if anybody ever found out, I would be in big trouble, and so I just kept it to myself.
Had you had any experience in reality seeing two men touching or anything that would come close to indicate a gay relationship?
I really can't think of anything back then. You know, I didn't have any kind of fantasies about the men being sexual with each other, like having their clothes off or anything. That, you know, that wasn't coming into it, but like I say, just touching or kissing or hugging, or I was very interested in prisons. You know, what, men in prisons and they have to sleep in the same room, and I read up a lot on that, and it was nothing. I didn't know anything about what men could do sexually with each other.
Well, then getting back to your fantasies about two men being together in a loving situation or a touching situation, were you in that fantasy? In other words, did you see yourself as being one of those two men?
No, and I wasn't even someone hiding behind the curtain looking. I wasn't in the picture at all. I felt there was no way I could ever be involved. Of course, I was a female.
Well, then going from these fantasies, what came after that in terms of real life sex?
Well, I got my first boyfriend at 13, and we hung around with each other for 3 months, and eventually split up because he wanted to pet and do these things that I was way too afraid to do. Any kind of physical touching was a sin, and I couldn't participate in that. And after we split up, I started my cross-dressing and trying to pass as a boy. Just dress up in my cowboy clothes and take the bus downtown and walk around and hope somebody would think that I was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, all through my teenage years. And then one time when I was doing this, I met another boyfriend, and we hung around with each other for about a month, and then he moved out of state. So, we kind of carried on a relationship through the mail, and so that kind of kept me involved, emotionally with a love relationship, but I didn't have to have any kind of physical contact with this guy.
Did you ever share with this second boyfriend your masculine preference, or did you dress in front of him?
Oh, yeah, he knew, he met me when I was in my cowboy drag, so this was kind of getting to be around in the hippie years, so I guess he just kind of figured I was a hippie or something. Mm-hmm. But I never told him that I felt like a boy or anything like that.
All right, we have you now into your middle teen years. What happened after that?
Well, when I was 17, and this was senior in high school, I finally got into a group of friends and met my third boyfriend and carried on a 10-year relationship with him. And he was kind of an effeminate kind of guy, and in fact my father warned me not to get too serious about this guy because my father told me that he thought that Jim was homosexual, and of course that really turned me on. I liked Jim even more, because of that. So we started going out together, and he was the first one that I had sex with. And as soon as I was graduated from high school, I moved into my own apartment, and then Jim and I more or less began living together. And as I got involved in a sexual relationship with him, thinking about myself as a female was a very big turnoff for me. And when he and I would be together sexually, I pretended I was a boy. And of course never told him. I thought, my God, what if he knew what I was thinking, and while we were together, and I would just pretend that I was a boy having sex with him. And that was very exciting then.
Mm-hmm. The physical act, though, of having intercourse and having his penis inside of you, was there any problem with that?
No, because I just pretended we were having anal intercourse. So it was all in my fantasies, and he, when I look back now, it's kind of funny because he was not really interested in my breasts either, and I almost always kept my t-shirt on.
How about your interest in his body? Did you have any, interest? Were you excited about his penis?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I thought he was very sexy, very exciting.
Uh-huh. Did you have any interest in having oral sex with him?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I wished that I was him. I would often pretend that I was him, or pretend that I looked like him or had his body or just emulated him.
You mentioned anal sex. Now, was that something that became part of the sexual behavior that went on between the two of you?
After we were together quite a while, yeah.
By the way, I should ask, I realize we're getting down to the nitty-gritty and talking about some very intimate things of your life. Now, are you comfortable with this?
Sure. That's why I came. That's why I came here.
Okay. So this relationship went on for a significant period of your life.
Right.
And although outwardly it would appear to be a male-female relationship, within your own mind's eye, you were engaging in what you perceived to be a gay homosexual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you suppose caused you to no longer be satisfied to continue living that way in your mind?
Because it wasn't going away. You know, I guess I always thought that it was going to go away, that, you know, I would be in this relationship and I would become a female and everything would work out, but all of a sudden I'm 21 years old and I think this is not going away. I realized I had to do something about it because I couldn't, you know, just pretend forever. I couldn't play boys forever.
Did there ever come a point in time when you shared your dilemma with Jim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I was 22, I finally started talking about it with him, and I started. Well, it was almost a coincidence that I went to a college class and was in the class with a male to female transsexual. I didn't know. I mean, he was a he then, and just started kind of hanging around with me and being my friend. And one day came to visit me, wearing women's clothes, and you know, really shocked me, and started talking about how he felt that he was a female and all this kind of stuff, which got me to thinking. And you know, I told this person that I felt like I was a gay man and that I didn't know what that meant, and I was doing all the reading that I could in the university library and about trying to read up on this. What does this mean? Is there, you know, has there anybody ever been like this before, or what is this? And I told this person that I wanted to go to a gay liberation meeting, but that I wasn't a lesbian, and you know, I'm not a gay man because I'm a female, so what am I? And so that's when I first started talking about it and trying to make some sense out of it.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened subsequently?
Well, I did go to the gay liberation meeting, and little by little talked to the people there and told them that I wasn't a lesbian, that I wanted to be one of the guys. And you know, of course they thought this was bizarre and far out, but there were others, you know, like I say, my friend who was a male to female, so they knew about such things. So little by little they accepted me as one of the guys, and I started going to the gay men's bars, and Jim would go with me, and started acting out some of my fantasies in that way. And
I gathered by then you were dressing consistently.
Right, I started dressing full-time then. I got rid of anything that I thought was female and had only male clothes. And then Jim and I moved out to San Francisco. I just wanted to get out of Milwaukee. I mean, I think I realized how limited my resources were there. And we moved out to San Francisco together, and I got a job as a female but dressing as a male. And we just continued to go to the men's bars together. He introduced me as his boyfriend to his co-workers. So he kind of would go along with it. He liked to play, and he would go along with it. But he told me he drew the line in if I ever started taking hormones or wanted to do any surgery, he would break up with me.
Did he ever have a sexual relationship
Yeah, he
with
did,
other?
and I was real happy about that because that just, you know, fired my fantasies. Yeah, he did get involved with a couple of boyfriends. Jim and I had, you know, definitely an open relationship, and you know, I would spend a lot of time in the bars hoping someone would think that I was a boy. You know, trying not to talk because open my mouth and a female voice would come out. So I was, you know, trying to be this, you know, silent, kind of mysterious kind of guy, and trying to, you know, get guys to come on to me as a male without them ever finding out that I was a female.
That sounds like a challenging trick.
Well, not really. It wasn't really too hard. I was afraid because I was afraid that they would find out, but. My modus operandi would be just to say to them, look, I'll do you, I don't want you to touch me. And if they would agree to that, then fine, you know.
And so how long were you content for this situation?
Well, it was like 1976, I guess, and I was 25 then, that I was getting frustrated, that I was feeling really trapped, being a female, trying to be a male. And I started pursuing the gender clinics at that time. And Jim was very upset. He didn't want me to do this. He was going to leave me, and I pursued it anyway and went to a counselor for the first time. And finally decided that I couldn't deal with losing Jim, that I had to try to be a female one more time. So I went back and bought some female clothes and female shoes and started trying to be a female part of the time and being a male other part of the time. And so I did that for 3 years.
And after 3 years of trying to go back to the female role, what then?
Jim left me anyway. So it was like, he left me for a female, and he left anyway, and it was like, wow. Then all of a sudden I was stuck with myself. And I went through a summer trying to, continue on being a female and try to find another boyfriend or something. And after about 3 or 4 months of that, I thought, what am I doing? I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. And that is when I seriously started pursuing hormones and the change.
How were you finally successful in getting male?
Well, it wasn't easy. I again applied to the gender clinic at Stanford and was rejected on application alone without even ever having an interview, because I was very honest about everything that had happened to me and where I was coming from. And they rejected me, saying that they had never heard of a female to male that wanted to be a gay man, and this was impossible, and they would not accept me. So I had, by then, I had become involved in the transvestite community in San Francisco. So I knew some of the psychiatrists and some of the gender helping profession through that group, and went to them and asked for some help in making this transition, and did finally get some letters of recommendation, and heard of an endocrinologist who was sympathetic and took my recommendations to him, and in that way began hormones.
So you started hormone therapy at approximately what age?
I was 28.
Okay.
That was November of '79.
And what kind of response did you have to the testosterone?
Well, I noticed right away that my voice started lowering. That was within a couple of weeks. And almost right away I started getting a little bit of facial hair along the mustache line. And my face started changing before my very eyes, which was a wonderful thing over the year of beginning to see my face in the mirror really for the first time. I never felt that I saw myself when I looked in the mirror. It was just kind of this doughy figure, and I never felt like I had any facial features or any expression on my face. But as the hormones took effect and my face kind of started squaring out and my skin started getting a little rougher, I was seeing a face develop and hearing a voice come out that was a male voice. It was really liberating for me. I noticed almost right away when I started the hormones the increase in sexual drive. I was turned on all the time, masturbated a lot. I still do notice that, and the kind of the warm rush that I kind of compare to a caffeine high of just having that increased energy from the testosterone.
I gather that your menstrual periods stopped.
Yes, right away with the first shot, and my clitoris increased in size. And about 7 months after I started hormones, I went in for the mastectomy and had my mastectomy.
How strongly did you feel about the mastectomy?
It was really nice. It was so good because I'd been wearing a binder, since I was 22. So, finally I could take my shirt off. I could breathe. I didn't have this binder around me all the time. And I never even took an aspirin for that surgery. It just didn't hurt. It felt so good just to have that off.
Well, then, what's happened in terms of your relationship with partners since then?
A month after I had my mastectomy, I left my job and found a job as a male where they didn't know anything about my past, and my previous job gave me a reference as a male, said that I'd worked there 5 years as a male secretary. And so I had this new job, and about 6 or 7 months later I moved out of the neighborhood where I had made the transition, moved into a new neighborhood where no one knew about me, and collected some new friends that only knew me as a gay man. And met a man through mutual friends that I was very attracted to, and We were buddies for about 3 months when I thought, hey, if, I'm going to have to tell this guy if I'm ever going to, get anything going with him. And I was encouraged because he was quite a bit younger than me. He was 10 years younger than me. So he was just 21 years old, and I was like 31. And he asked me if I would go into the porno bookstore for him and get some of these she-male magazines for him, because he was too embarrassed to go in. And these were the transvestite kind of magazines that he found sexually exciting. So that encouraged me to think, well, if he's turned on by this, maybe he won't be too freaked out to find out that, I'm a man with a vagina. And he wasn't. He was not upset about it. And in fact, about a month after I told him about it, he moved in with me and we began living together. And we had a relationship for about 5 years, lived together. And he never told our mutual friends that I had been a female. And to me, I was really excited about that because for the first time I felt like I was really in a male-male relationship.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of sexual activity did the two of you engage in?
All of the above. Anal, vaginal, oral, all activities. I think probably the only one that we were not involved in was him performing oral sex on me. That he never even tried to do, and I had never liked that anyway. Mm-hmm. So that was fine with me.
Can I ask you did you have any preference for, say, vaginal intercourse versus anal intercourse?
Oh, I definitely liked the anal much better because that, played into the fantasy even more. That was what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And of course you had your partner as a gay man. Was there anything, so to speak, bisexual about him, since he was engaging in what people would call heterosexual intercourse?
I think that both of my primary lovers during my transition described themselves as bisexual, as Jim did and Tom also did.
Well, was that a conflict for you, since you seemed to need
Yeah, I didn't like it, but what control did I have? I mean, he would have to be if I was going to take off my pants and be a female from the waist down. He would have to be bisexual. But in a way, with Tom, it was a change because he had to become a gay male in order to have a relationship with me. Mm-hmm. He had to identify to his friends and his family as a gay man because he was living with me as a gay man for all this time. And this was very exciting to me. I felt like this was a real change in what was going on between me and my partners.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it would be important for us to understand, knowing as we do that you did contract AIDS, what your sexual pattern was like at this time.
Well, after I had my mastectomy, I didn't have to worry about anyone, touching me from the waist up, but I still had female anatomy from the waist down. So I frequented places where I could be assured that we would have anonymous sex, and that places called the Glory Hole, where you could go in the back room and I could perform oral sex on someone without their being obligated to touch me or anything. And I would just keep moving real fast to not give anybody any feels to give myself away or let them know that I was a female from the waist down. Or I would make a deal with someone in the bar and say, I'll do you, but I don't want you to touch me. And sometimes I would meet up with someone in the gender, and also a gender identity problem, say a male to female transvestite or drag queen, and feel that I feel comfortable enough to tell them about my physical status, and then I would undress and we would have intercourse.
So if they could be an apparent female with a penis, then you could be an apparent male with a vagina.
No, that's what I figured. It was no different.
Yeah. I guess some of us heterosexual folks assume that gay men lead a very active, somewhat promiscuous sexual life. Help us to understand if this is indeed the case with you.
Well, not as far as practice goes. I have not had a lot of sexual partners in my life. But it doesn't take a lot to contract AIDS, and it's just one shot does it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think you had said that since you've been living exclusively as a gay man, that perhaps you had only, what, 6 partners?
Yeah, I'd say that. Because it's been about 8 years now, and I was in a primary relationship with someone, and so didn't feel I had to really go outside. But I think, maybe once a year I would go out and try to find someone for some fun.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like, by anybody's definition, that kind of frequency could be called promiscuous.
No, I would have loved to be promiscuous. I admire, and I think it must be wonderful to feel that good about your body and that free to be running around and having sex all the time. I've never felt that good about my body, ever.
Mm-hmm. But I presume you began to feel better about your body as you went through this transition from the biological female gender of origin to your male role.
Oh, definitely, yes, over the years.
But apparently getting rid of the breasts wasn't quite sufficient to make the transition complete. How did you feel about yourself, part male and part female, so to speak?
Well, I think I just enjoyed myself from the waist up. And just pretty much continued with the same, in the same psyche that I had been my whole life, in my fantasy that I was a male, and of course my chest being flat and the effects of the hormones enhanced that fantasy and helped me in that way, so that it was easier for me to relax. And I just pretended the rest was there, just fantasized as I always had been. But it was very limiting for me, just trying to connect with people and feeling like an honest person with people, that, that I was portraying myself in an honest way. And it made me feel sad to connect with, say, a gay man, and then thinking that because I had a female anatomy, or was female from the waist down, that in some way I was forcing him to be heterosexual and having sex with me. And that made me feel sad, and it made me feel turned off and unhappy in my sexual activities. I wanted to be a gay man, and I wanted him to be a gay man with me.
Mm-hmm. I see. All right, well, maybe we should complete the story as far as the sex reassignment surgery.
Well, once again, I applied to the gender clinics, saying, hey, I've been living full-time as a male now for 6 years, and it's all been working out, everything's been fine, I can do it, I'm being a gay man, and I need to have this bottom surgery, I finally have the money for it. And once again was told that my case was too unusual, that they had never heard of a female-to-male who wanted to be a gay man, that they did not want to be the first to operate and deal with such a person. Mm-hmm. So I was left to try to find someone outside of the gender clinics and the gender professionals to get the bottom surgery done. And through the grapevine, through my contacts in the transvestite transsexual community, I found a doctor who had performed one previous genitoplasty, is what he called it, and he agreed that if I could get my letters of reference together, that he would also perform the surgery on me. And I did undergo that surgery in April of '86.
And can you describe what that surgery was?
Yeah. What he did is he said it was very much like a circumcision, where he removed the hood of skin that was covering and holding down the enlarged clitoris so that it stuck up more, was more visible. And he inserted regular-sized male testicle implants into the labia majora, mm-hmm. And that's all he did.
After this, then, last surgical procedure, which goes back to last April, did you feel more complete then in the male role?
Yes, and it was kind of a long recovery period for me. I had problems with one of the testicular implants, and it had to be reinserted a total of 3 times. And while I was recovering from one rejection of the implant is when I discovered that I had AIDS. I was diagnosed with AIDS. And that was probably my first thought was, oh great, now I'm going to die and I've got one ball and there's no way the surgeon is going to operate on me again having AIDS and reinsert this implant, and I'm going to die with the surgery never even done. And that was, I think, the worst part of finding out that I had AIDS. But he did agree to do it. About 3 months after I got out of the hospital after having pneumocystis, he did insert the implant and it stayed. So that was.
So you feel
healed
complete at this point.
Yes,
finally.
Finally, I can present myself as a male.
Well, and now that's complicated by having AIDS.
Yeah. Now that I can finally feel good about my body, now I have another thing to feel, like a walking germ. But I've lived a year now with AIDS. I have become comfortable with my body and realized that my sex life isn't over, that I can still function and get together as a gay man with gay men and have safe sex. And so I'm just enjoying that time and trying to live my life as long as I can. I feel kind of privileged to know that that my time is limited and that I have a certain amount of time to get my affairs in order and to make sure that I've contributed to my story and what I can to society before I die. And in a way, I don't even feel bad about having AIDS. In a way, I feel it's almost a poetic justice that I've spent my whole life trying to be a gay man and running into a lot of opposition and being told that I couldn't do it, it was impossible. And I feel like in a way that this AIDS diagnosis, because AIDS is still seen at this point as a gay man's disease, that it kind of proves that I did do it and I was successful. And I kind of took a perverse pleasure in contacting the gender clinics that rejected me and said, that they've told me so many years that it was impossible for me to live as a gay man, but it looks like I'm going to die like one.
Lou's advocacy paid off. When his interview with Dr. Pauly was screened at the National Conference of the influential Harry Benjamin International Gender Dysphoria Association, its members acknowledged that access to gender-affirming care should not be denied based on a person's sexual orientation. But Lou's legacy extended well beyond that. As a leading organizer of the female-to-male community, he wrote a guidebook for trans men and founded FTM, a Bay Area peer support group that grew into a global support network. Under the name FTM International, it became the longest-running and largest organization to offer education and community resources for transmasculine people. Lou is also a self-taught scholar of trans history, and in 1990, he published a biography of Jack B. Garland, a gay trans man born in San Francisco in the 1800s. Lou's selected diaries, which spanned 30 years of his life, were published posthumously. After their first recorded interview, Lou and Dr. Pauly established something of an annual tradition, meeting every January for a follow-up conversation. In early 1991, Lou's deteriorating health forced him to cancel their next session. Lou Sullivan died of AIDS-related complications on March 2, 1991. He was 39 years old. Many thanks to everyone who makes Making Gay History possible, including producer Inga Detaya, photo editor Michael Green, and our social media producers Christiana Pena and Nick Porter. Our studio engineer was Kathleen Conti at CDM Sound Studios. Fritz Myers composed our theme music. Special thanks to our founding editor and producer Sarah Birmingham and our founding production partner Jenna Weiss-Berman. Thank you also to the New York Public Library Manuscripts and Archives Division for their ongoing assistance. The audio excerpts included in this episode are from interviews 1, 2, and 4 between Lou Sullivan and Dr. Ira Pauly. The interviews are part of the GLBT Historical Society film and video collection and are provided courtesy of the GLBT Historical Society. Special thanks to the Society's managing reference archivist, Devin McGeehan Muchmore. Season 15 of this podcast has been made possible with funding from the Jonathan Logan Family Foundation, Ty Ashford and Nicholas Chitkoff, Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, Mitchell Drazen, the Calamus Foundation, Christopher Street Financial, the Marcus Family Foundation, the Kipper Family Foundation, Rick Hoffman, Bill Cucks, Rick Fischel, Esmond and Jerome Harmsworth, the Embry Family Foundation, Mary Cadigan and Lee Wilson, Robert Gober and Donald Moffat, Greg Adgate, the Eichholt Scott Family Trust, Maureen Bennett, Hal Brody and Don Smith, Robert Dodd, and Kathy Dancer. To learn more about the people and stories we feature, head to makinggayhistory.org, where you'll find links to additional information and archival photos, as well as episode transcripts. I'm Eric Marcus. So long, until next time.
I wonder if this is not an appropriate time to say our goodbyes to the invisible audience, and whether we have another session or not is somewhat problematic or uncertain.
Yeah, who knows if I didn't think I'd be here for this one either, so if I can come back next year, that'll be even more fun.
Well, whether you come back or don't, I want you to know that for me this has been an important experience, and you've been more than just another subject for me to write a paper about. And I personally appreciate the effort, and I know it's an increasing effort even to get on the bus and come here from San Francisco. So I'd like to say thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Okay, Louis.